Welcome back to Brother Wolf, Sister Moon Divination. Hello, my dear fellow spirit workers. I hope you're doing well. Dear fam, today I want to share some tips about talismans that have absorbed and done their duty. So, I have this beautiful bracelet. Okay. Look at the detail on this. It's meant to be like a tiger or like a dragon. And there's its mouth. Okay, a ferocious protective beast, and this is tiger's eye. The whole thing is this beautiful tiger's eye. Okay, so I wore this, and this ties into talismans and amulets in general, but specifically, this was a lady I know from a Vietnamese. Well, it's a gift shop, but it's in essence like Vietnamese spirit voodoo kind of store. So, of course, traditions come from everywhere, and there's all beautiful traditions, and so I love to draw from many different cultures. So, it was recommended based on my feng shui zodiac, my Chinese Eastern zodiac, to wear a certain kind of bracelet for the year. And so I wore it, and all of a sudden, I went to an art store, art supply store, right? And I was met with this, very abrupt kind of response when I went there. So it was very sort of curt and just like the door was closed. And it's interesting because this is the second time I've attempted to go to that art store and art supply store. And so I get back in my car, and then all of a sudden, blunk, I hear this sound. And I looked at my wrist and I was like, oh, okay, that's broken. It's absorbed something. So that's how I would read that. So, and I've talked about this before in my video about talismans and amulets and lucky charms, that when they are been charged and are meant to protect, if suddenly they break, that's always a sign that they absorb something. Now, it could also be that I'm just rough with my jewelry. It's possible, but the way it broke and the timing of it was just so, you know, poignant. And so, what I'm going to do, so depending on the amulet or talisman, typically, depending on the tradition or the culture and depending on what it is actually, you would just throw it away if you were to find it. And so, the rule of thumb there is you collect the pieces, as many as you can find, safely. Otherwise, just leave them and go, right? So if you're in a busy street, obviously you can't go picking up all those, beads or necklace beads or bracelet beads or whatever it is, and you would just leave it. But if you can, you would to collect it and then throw it out somewhere. Now, this being a beautifully hand carved piece of jewelry made of tiger's eye, this has value. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cleanse this and defunk it. I've already wafted it under an incense, but now I'm going to show you a technique for doing a cleansing of something that's been absorbed. Okay, so right here I have a little bowl of water, and I'm going to put that in and just use regular old table salt, a good slurp. Okay, and now I'm going to light another incense, have it at the ready. and hopefully you have access to some really good incense. So, I say this every time. I live in South Florida, so there's lots of different cultures and lots of different little grocery stores and little specialty shops. So, always good incense all around. So, whether they come from Africa, Saudi Arabia, India, Vietnam makes some really good incense. Um, so, if you can get a hold of them, because it's not easy to get them, but I do know this little specialty shop in South Florida. So I've gone ahead and lit my incense. I'm passing over my sacred space. This is my workshop. So you're going to have different types of areas where you can work. And remember, you could be flexible. It could be as humble as you need. It could also be something where you might need to hide or, not put it out on Front Street that you're doing this stuff. And that's fine. There's many traditions that were in situations that were difficult like that. In the hoodoo tradition, for example, they had to do all this stuff, on these terrible, situations on plantations and just, imagine. So it was the need to hide this stuff. So if you're in a situation where you have to hide this stuff, or your partner's not into this, or for family or other religious things going around, yeah, definitely be discreet, be prudent. And so you might want to set up your stuff clandestinely, and that's fine. Okay. So anyway, I have this soaking in this salt water. I can ask for prayers to first thank the talisman for doing its job and to absorb any negativity. So salt, I've already passed it under incense. Now I could leave this under the moonlight for several days, at least 3 days, and depending on the cycle, depending on what you want. Now, in general, just the salt water is fine. But if you're going to add moon magic to this, then and you want it to cleanse whatever it's absorbed, you would wait until the waning moon. That's when the moon starts getting smaller. Just after I would at least wait 3 days after the full moon, and that's when you're going to start seeing the moon waning and getting smaller, and that's when I would put it out, just that it's pulling out and reducing and releasing. As the moon is reducing, may the energy that was absorbed in this be removed and go away as the moon is diminishing, And so I would do that. And I also have another bracelet, again, made of these semi-precious stones, too beautiful to throw out, and we can always recycle these. Now, some things you can't recycle, and I believe that you will know what you can and can't just by feeling. So now these threads I will eventually remove, but until I cleanse the whole thing, again, I'm passing it over the incense, wafting it, right? That's our, let me relight that. Okay, so I'm going to waft this in the smoke, ask for cleansing, and in it goes into the salt water. Okay, so that's going to sit. Again, you can just do this in your house and then pour out the water. You might want to do another change of water and more salt. Fine. It's intuitive, you'll know. But this definitely needs to be cleansed. And this may or may not be a bracelet ever again. It could just be as it is. For example, it becomes a new type of Mojo Sack or sachet. So these are available online. You could even make these just folding a piece of fabric over and running it zip, zip, either by hand, which could be very meditative, or, zip, zip on a sewing machine, or just, you could, I guess, glue it, fabric glue. But, anyways, so this can be a new sachet or Mojo Sack where those semi-precious stones, tiger eye, very powerful. There's some also some black onyx in there. So this would make a lovely sachet or Mojo Sack. So once these are cleansed and rededicated and recharged, They can go in this little Mojo sack or sachet. In with that, you could put a clove of garlic. So that could go in there, right? You could also put a piece of camphor. So you could find these online. Again, these are available in mostly like specialty shops, ethnic shops, but I've even seen some of the big grocery stores carrying these. And so you put in a square of this, okay, which is just lovely. All right. Very cleansing, good for health and pushing away negative energy. So, be intuitive, but things like garlic, a piece of this camphor square, all right? Then when they're cleansed, you can put those semi-precious beads that I just showed you, waft the whole thing under the incense, dedicate it. You could use some moon magic. So as the moon is growing, waxing, you could start putting it out and let it absorb some of that moonlight. And certainly you could add a crystal. So this is you've seen this before, a piece of lapis lazuli. Sure, why not? And there I have the perfect little sachet Mojo Sack with those stones once I cleanse them. So be creative and pray on this. And you might have seen my other video using hoodoo psalms, like using the psalms in the hoodoo tradition, where certain psalms are dedicated and known to be protective for different types of things. So you could pray on that. You could even print it off or write a short psalm and then keep it in there. This would be a great traveling with, or just keep it with you in your pocket or your pocketbook whenever you go. Very powerful. And, some of you might think, oh, gee, I'll smell of garlic. Well, yes and no. For example, if you put this in your car as a protective thing, that's fine. And you can put it in the trunk, right? But also, when you're doing spirit work, it's okay if somebody walks past me and they might detect a little garlic smell. That's good. I'm fine with that. And sometimes when we use protective energies, they do push people and things away, and it's for the good. So I'm never shy about using things like this, because some of the energy is that funk, that, it's oil, it's essence, So you weigh your options. I'm gonna be okay with having a little garlic around if it wards off and keeps bad stuff away. So it's a trade-off, but my spirit workers know what I'm talking about. Okay. The other thing I wanted to share with you, very interesting, is the candle work. Now, I do plan on doing a series on an elaborative series on candle work, but just a quick spirit work tip. And many of you probably know this, but remember, we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced people who come to join and watch these videos, which I'm very grateful for. And so everyone's welcome, and we share ideas. And so there's things that I know that you might not know, and there's things you know that I might not know. So we're exchanging ideas and trading ideas and growing our collective, right? So this is a spent candle. So this is a candle I had on my main altar, and this one happens to be Angel of La Guardia, El Ángel de la Guardia, our guardian angel spirit. So she protects and watches over us. It's a beautiful candle. There's different ones. Even a plain white candle is fine. And of course, there's different candles for different colors, for different aspects, for different manifestations, and so on. But generally, a white candle works for everything. Now, I want you to pay attention to your candles as they burn, right? It's kind of hard to see with this picture of the angel. But notice, when you're doing any kind of prayers or spirit work, pay attention to what does your candle look like. Sometimes you might have a candle that for some reason will have like a big burn mark, black soot. Sometimes a candle might even break. These are all signs and portents and omens. So pay attention to that. Don't be frightened of it. If you see something like went really wrong and it left a lot of soot and it was just like really intense looking, good. We can say it absorbs something for us, and also it's an indicator. So pay attention. Now this one seems to be very clean and clear. That's beautiful. Thank you, angel, guardian angel, ángel de la guardia. Gracias por tu ayuda y sigue ayudándonos. Okay? So, and it burned all the way, almost all the way down. That's another sign. So sometimes and it could just be the manufacturer, but I tend to think that if you've used a certain company over a while, you know they're pretty reliable and so on. You know how they burn. So you pick that up over time. Look how clear this is. So that's a beautiful sign. They've been doing their work. There is a slight haze to it, so that says there's more work to be done. But it's clear. We don't see any of those scoring or black soot. So pay attention to how your candles burn. Okay, so we're almost. So this is telling me things are working and things are going well. Bismillah, mashallah. And to just keep praying, and to the angel guardians watch over us. So I would, and I have one now going, but I wanted to show you this little tip about paying attention to your candles, because that's also another window into the spirit realm and telling us what we need to know. So if I saw that scored with lots of black, I would maybe do a reading at that point, or I would ask for, and then depending on, now if a candle would break, because that happens when it's burning, again, it could be a manufacturer error flaw where perhaps they laid the wick too close to the glass. It can happen. Simple science, physics, it's possible. But, you also get a vibe. Like, what does the image or the picture look like to you, and the way it's scarred, and almost like a tea reading in a way. So pay attention to that. So I would take that broken candle. Now, obviously, once it breaks, it's not safe anymore to use. You can put it in a bag, throw some water on it, make sure it's extinguished fully, and throw it in the garbage. Preferably a garbage far away from your house. Even better. Now, another tip I want to share with you. Speaking of salt, very powerful protection, okay, for absorption. We know the power of salt. So I'm going to put a little dish, doesn't have to be a lot, of salt. And now that would be enough in itself. Put this by the front door on the inside. If you can't put stuff in the open, you could hide this behind a planter. There's lots of little things, or you could put it inside something, maybe a decorative thing, but the inside, maybe some, plastic or, reeds or those, decorative flowers that you see. But inside, you have this little bowl of salt working and absorbing any negative stuff that crosses into your house. So the minute somebody walks in your house, that powerful absorbing salt is there. Now I'm going to even add to this a clove of garlic. Now that would be a wonderful thing to include in your front door area, behind the front door. And again, you can disguise it if you can't leave it out in the open in a creative way. So you figure it out behind some decorative vase, or even inside a vase, and then you put reeds or sticks or plastic flowers or whatever, silk flowers, and there it is. And nobody needs to know about it except you, and you know that it's serving a purpose to protect. And speaking of garlic, see these papers? So these can also be used in many ways. So one of the powerful things to do, if you ever go to a place that has like a funk or like unfresh or clean energy, and I mean that more in a spiritual sense, right? So of course, clean everything. Water is the best. Once you've cleaned everything, burn some of this garlic papers. Okay. Also very powerful, purging negative energy. So save your Be careful. Save your garlic papers. Okay, and there's other things we can use this for, but this is also very powerful. Just the papers themselves. And you'll see how different the air is, it changes it. Okay, very good. So that was another tip using ordinary table salt. So those are my tips and tricks for now. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe and help us grow our collective. I really appreciate it. And I have been seeing that people are watching the video. So thank you so much. It really touches my heart. And I do hope that you're enjoying the videos and that you will continue with these series, with the series that we're working on. These different tips and tricks and the Sacred Space series and the readings. Okay, with that, I will say be well. Hope to see you soon, and as always, God is love.